Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I love this racetrack, so it's fun to be here. And it's actually a good thing that it's warm outside. It gives us a good opportunity to test, and the track will get slick this afternoon, kind of like it'll get when we come back here for race weekend. So it'll be good to get some track those conditions and hopefully learn something from when we come back here in the fall.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. From Columbia, Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, we welcome back Kevin McCrary to our humble abode on Main Street in downtown Columbia. Martin Truex Jr. and other NASCAR drivers on hand at Darlington today for a full day of testing at the old track. We were there to listen to him and the drivers. We'll let you hear what Martin Truex Jr. had to say, coming off his win last week at Pocono, very popular win in NASCAR circles. We have got a lot of stuff to do tonight. The draft is winding up. They are about to hit round 40. We'll update all the picks from players with ties South Carolina. There's been a bunch more today, and we'll fill you in on all of that coming up after the break. Chad Holbrook will join us at the bottom of the hour, and Bradley LeCroy, a little bit after 7 o'clock, he will join us as well. We will ring up David Hood one final time for this edition of the Dabo Swinney football camp. They finished up this morning. Just talked with John Simpson, the big offensive lineman out of Fort Dorchester. We'll give you the full report on him in the recruiting update, but tell you that Clemson sits very, very strongly with him at this point. In fact, he'll go to South Carolina Friday for a camp. The Gamecocks have some work to do. They've dropped down. They're currently at least no better than third on his list behind Clemson and Alabama. And this is a situation he grew up favoring the Gamecocks. So they got their work cut out for them. We'll go over all the recruiting stuff coming up a little bit later on for you as well. We'll update some other news notes too. Let's welcome back K-Mac, who was gone the first 2 nights of the week in Salisbury, North Carolina for the National Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association Award presentation. Congratulations once again. I'm sure you met some very interesting people.
Yeah, had a lot of fun there. They do a nice job, as you know. You've been there many times. They do a very nice job there in Salisbury of making you feel pretty special. I think they claim to be the only town in America that likes sports writers and sportscasters.
Wow.
Could be. And I don't think anybody would debate that.
And they didn't serve Salisbury steak either.
It is the haven for sports writers and sportscasters. The Hall of Fame is there, and they bring in all the big timers for this event once a year from every state, and of course the national guys as well. So it's a big gathering and a lot of fun. I know you had a great time. Good to have you back with us for a couple of days before what?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I don't think I'm ever going to work again.
Unbelievable. We will try and squeeze in some calls amongst everything we've got going on tonight too. 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. When we come back from the break, however, we'll catch you up on the draft and more Sports Talk on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. got a lot to get to here on Sports Talk. The baseball draft is in round 39 as we speak. They are rolling right along. And as I look, I see USC recruit Adam Hill was just taken with pick number 1,167. That's in the 39th round by the Padres. A lot of them are going late because apparently they priced themselves out of the early rounds. And, Hill's he's a big guy, 6'6", 185, and they decided that they wanted to go to school. They told the teams that, and so the teams aren't going to waste good draft picks on players they don't think they can sign. So Adam Hill just picked by the Padres out of T.L. Hanna, USC signee, 39th round, number 1167. Let me give you the rest of the picks up to this moment, because there's been quite a few today. Today we started with round number 11. The first pick of the state today came in the 12th round. Skylar Hunter, Citadel right-hander, to the Phillies. 13th round, USC second baseman Max Schrock to the Nationals. And, you would think, at least on paper, guys, that's not going to be enough to entice him away from his senior year at South Carolina. But we'll find out what Chad Holbrook has to say when he joins us in a little bit. College of Charleston second baseman Blake Butler to the Reds in the 15th. In the 17th, Citadel right-hander Austin Mason to the Diamondbacks, and Clemson right-hander Brody Kerner to the Yankees. In the 21st, Charleston Southern lefty Andrew Tomasevich to the A's. Round 22, the Nationals take right-hander Adam Bogosian of North Greenville, and the Mariners take Winthrop righty Joey Strain. In the 27th, the Mets chose Clemson lefty signee Jake Higginbotham. Probably Higginbotham is the correct way to pronounce that. Jake Higginbotham, lefty, Clemson signee, Mets 27th. In the 28th, Newberry, first baseman Albert Bauer to the Pirates. 29th round, the Padres took USC Aiken second baseman Tyler Moore. In the 29th, the Red Sox took Wofford righty Will Stillman. Round 32, on the day he began his cancer treatments, Clemson right-hander Clayton Schmidt was drafted by the Red Sox. Round 32. Also in the 32nd, USC pitcher signee Cody Morris with the Orioles in the 32nd round. Now, I believe he is a pitcher who's had arm surgery and is going to be out for the next season. I think he had Tommy John. So the Orioles, maybe they took him because he's from Maryland and it was a favor pick. I don't know. Outfielder DJ Neal and wide receiver DJ Neal, USC freshman, taken by the Braves, 32nd round. Probably too late to entice him away.
The Braves drafted 2 SEC wide receivers today.
Who was the other one?
The kid from Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Godwin?
Callaway.
Callaway? No,
from Callaway, Georgia.
Yeah.
Goodwin.
Goodwin.
Yeah, another recruit. Left-handed pitcher C.D. Pelham from Spartanburg Methodist to the Rangers in round 33. Round 34, the Mets take USC signee shortstop L.T. Tolbert. He was at Wren High School, but he played this last year at IMG Academy down in Florida. Round 37, the Pirates take Clemson shortstop Eli White. Round 38, the Indians take USC's Braden Webb. He was a 2014 signee. He had arm surgery, did not play this year, and K-Mac and I are both trying to figure out how he is eligible for the draft. We'll have to ask Chad about that. I'm sure there's a reason. Did he not enroll in school maybe? I don't know.
If he didn't enroll in school, I think he's eligible.
Yeah, that might be it. And the A's in the 38th round, they select USC catcher signee Chris Cullen. So you're up to date with the addition of Adam Hill from T.L. Hanna in the 39th round being taken by San Diego, and not quite into the 40th round yet. So there you go. You're up to date on the activities involving the locals and the baseball draft this afternoon. So I'll tell you what, you go blind watching name after name after name go down the list and checking against your list and against signee list and all that kind of stuff. It's but I do like the way Major League Baseball is doing their draft these days compared to how they used to do it, which was in secret. And I mean, the media was except for the first round, they didn't publicize anything for many, many years. And I can remember, calling players at USC and Clemson, and they get the phone call from you, and they're all excited because they think they're being picked. Then they find out it's you, the media, and they're like,
They get off the phone because I'm getting a call.
I mean,
exactly.
I still think the timing of this is always a little goofy around super regional time. I've covered this thing while a super regional is taking place and you're doing interviews with players and they're asking you that I get drafted today. And for a coach, it has to be extremely distracting. Why they can't do this in July after the season's ended? Could you imagine having the NBA draft during the Final Four or the NFL draft during the Bowl series?
Only reason I can think of is they want to get these guys signed and into their farm systems as quickly as possible.
I mean, you talk about 3 weeks. Is that really going to retard the development of a player? 3 weeks?
I wouldn't think so. I'm just kind of giving you what I think is what they're thinking is. Now, some of these guys, and I was listening to the Yankees game today, and they were talking about draft and development. I mean, there were guys who were drafted last summer who were pitching for their respective teams in the postseason last year. So, they, especially if you're an arm and the way they need arms in Major League Baseball, they get you through the development stage as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Plus they're looking at the recruiting season, whether the guy plays 2 sports, who can be enticed out of school before they enroll, that sort of thing. So for them, it probably falls into a good spot for them.
Now, this other baseball note, this came out last night that Clemson signee Cal Raleigh, one of their better signees in the incoming class, a catcher out of the Asheville area, Western North Carolina, has asked for his release. His father, of course, is Todd Raleigh, who was once the coach at Tennessee and the coach at Western Carolina, very close friends with Jack Leggett. And the younger Raleigh told USA Today, "We've asked for a release. We're just waiting to hear back on that. I've really had 2 big dreams my whole life when it comes to baseball, to play pro and to go to Omaha for the College World Series." And they also were pretty straightforward with the scouts about what they were expecting from a signing bonus standpoint. So I think they might have prided themselves out of an early draft pick. They have been picked at this point. He batted .459 with 10 homers, 23 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases this past season. Jacob Park is on the move. The former Mr. Football in South Carolina out of Stratford is leaving the Georgia football program after 1 year there as a redshirt. And then this past spring, he competed for the starting job and apparently was no better than 3rd on the depth chart. Now they have the transfer quarterback Grayson Lambert coming in, pushing him further down the list. And so what's funny is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had a story on this last night, and they contacted his father, who claimed he had no knowledge of this, no idea that the kid might be transferring from Georgia.
Interesting.
He said, "I've heard nothing about it, blah, blah, blah." Now, the reports have been that he's going to go to a junior college. I've been told as well that Marshall was a school that was sort of waiting in the wings and letting him know there's a lot of interest there if he decided to transfer. This was as of last week. So now that he has decided to transfer, I don't know if he's going to go the junior college route or maybe try and take up with a place like Marshall.
Now, tell me this. Now, if he transfers, says, back to the state of South Carolina to FCS school, is he immediately eligible?
If he transfers down.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, maybe one of the schools.
Charleston Southern online too.
We shall see. He was a Shrine Bowler his senior year coming out of Stratford. And as I mentioned, the Mr. Football winner, that was back in 2013. We'll be back. More sports talk in a moment. Chad Holbrook coming up at the bottom of the hour here on Sports Talk. Catch up on a couple of other important news notes from today. Tennessee could have an issue with its new basketball coach. Tell me where you've heard that before. Happened with the previous coach. Now, the Chronicle of Higher Education today published claims of academic misconduct involving athletes at Texas, including several accusations under former basketball coach Rick Barnes, now at Tennessee. Two former academic advisors told the Chronicle that a math instructor caught former Texas basketball player Martez Walker taking photos of test questions and seeking help on his phone during a final in the fall of 2013. The instructor informed the athletic department, but Walker went on to pass the class, make the Big 12 commissioner's honor roll, and help lead the Longhorns to the NCAA tournament. Also, a former academic mentor in the athletic department told the Chronicle he helped write papers for former basketball player Jacobin Brown, who played for Barnes from 2009 through 12, and a tutor told the Chronicle that former Texas player P.J. Tucker, who played for Barnes from 2003 through 6, received impermissible academic assistance while he was preparing for the NBA draft. So here we go again with the academics and major college athletics.
Tennessee, boy, everybody they hire is just, I don't know. That's scary.
Better hire Eddie Fogler. Go in there and clean it up.
Taking pictures.
Straight and narrow. Yeah. Southern Conference announced today that their men's and women's basketball tournaments will continue to be played in Asheville through 2021. And the Palmetto Amateur got underway today down in Aiken. Tie for first after the first round. Anthony Quayle from Australia, David Kotcher from Charlotte, 5 under 65. Austin Langdale, Billy Kennerly, Clemson golfer, and J.D. Tomlinson, they all shoot to 4 under par, 66. Todd White, the great amateur from Spartanburg, he shoots 3 under 67 today down in Aiken at the beautiful course for the Palmetto Amateur. All right, there you go. Those are some of the notes of the day. We'll give you some Major League Baseball finals as well, I guess, as much as it pains me to do so, because the Yankees did lose today.
Oops.
After having a 4-2 lead, they blow it 11-5-4 to the Nationals. Just sort of takes the fun out of the day when your team loses. Toronto beat Miami 7-2. Cincinnati over Philadelphia 5-2. And tonight, the Braves will continue their series against the Padres. We'll get more on that from Mike Morgan coming up in just a little bit. And it's an off day in the NBA Finals. What'd you think of last night?
You know what I thought when I looked at it? I thought of the Celtics and the Lakers in '86 when the Celtics started doing this to Showtime and they backed down. I think that's what happened. Golden State has to throw some punches next game.
Fight back, huh? Don't cower. Hit them with an elbow. Okay, we're back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Good to have you with us wherever you are dialed in around the states. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. They're in the 40th round. They're just about done, and no further state-connected picks so far in round 40. One more baseball item to pass along to you from this afternoon. The Baseball Writers Association, National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association All-American team came out today. Clemson's Chris Oakey and College of Charleston's Taylor Clark named to the first team. Congratulations to those guys. A little surprised that the Gamecocks' Kyle Martin didn't make that team.
Matthew Crownover made the second team.
Matthew Crownover on the second team.
Yeah, the three teams, I was surprised that Kyle Martin didn't make it.
Wonder what Chad Holbrook thinks of that as we welcome in the Gamecocks baseball coach to a Sports Talk. A little surprised that Kyle didn't make that team?
I'm surprised Kyle's not on that All-American team. He's on a few of them, and he certainly deserves to be. He had an All-American type season. He had a great season for us, and he's certainly worthy of All-American honors for sure. I'm sorry he wasn't on that team, though.
Yeah, absolutely. He got his due yesterday. I know you had to be happy for him with the way that by coming back to school, he really improved his draft status.
He did. He had a great senior year, and one of the reasons Kyle came back was because, he's such a great student, and he's an engineering major, and so he's got all that going for him as well when his time as a baseball player is done. So he's got a bright future in front of him. Obviously, as a baseball player first, but once those days are done, he's gonna walk into a well-paying job. So he's such a great kid, great personality. He's been a great student at South Carolina.
You think that's a good organization for him?
Well, I think it's his favorite organization. He grew up a diehard Phillies fan, and no matter what organization you go in, you're going to have to make your own way. You're going to have to play well at all stops, and he's certainly aware of that. But if you probably asked Kyle before the draft, if he had his wish on which team would pick him, it would have been the Phillies, and that's been his lifelong dream to play for those guys and for that organization, and his dream has come true.
All right, let me mention something from the draft, Coach. Doesn't affect you, but it does affect Clemson. One of their signees, Jackson Cower, right-hander, just taken by Detroit in the 40th round with pick number 1210. 1210, Jackson Cower going to Detroit. So what do you think about as far as your underclassmen, your draft-eligible guys, your recruiting class? How do you think you have survived this year's draft?
Well, you're always going to lose some guys you wish you could keep, and we're certainly going to keep our fair share of guys that we were worried about losing. So it's kind of always goes that way. Very rarely do you get every single player that you recruited and you dodge the draft 100%. That just doesn't happen. And you just hope just not to get, totally blindsided or just totally your whole recruiting class taken away from you, so to speak. And we're certainly not going to have that problem this year. We got some exciting players that are coming in here. A number of them got drafted, especially late today, but their signing bonuses are so high, so we certainly expect them to be here in the fall, and most of them has already put out word that they're going to honor their commitment to South Carolina. So we're excited about our class. We're excited about the fall. Obviously, one of the reasons we're excited is all of them had a great deal of talent to be thought of to be draft picks. And, we're going to lose a couple of them, but we're certainly going to keep a majority of them, and we're excited about getting started in August. All
right, let me just ask you, player for player here, the ones that would still kind of be somewhat up in question, though maybe not so much. Jack Wynkoop, 6th-round Rockies, sign or return?
I feel certain that Jack will sign. Here's what I think that'll sign. Nick Neidert, obviously, is going to sign for well over $1 million. He's one of our recruits that went in the 60th pick. He went very, very high. Wynkoop, obviously, Kyle Martin will sign being a senior. Wynkoop, we expect him to sign as well. Then Logan Allen's one of our recruits that went in the 8th round, and we fully expect him to sign. And then Schrock, who went, I guess, in the 13th round, there might be some negotiating going on there. And I think at the end of the day, if I had to guess, Max will probably be be offered somewhere around second or third round money. And if that's the case, which I think it will be the case, then I think that Max will sign his professional contract.
Ooh, that would be a pretty big blow, wouldn't it?
Well, it's one that we kind of expected here the last week or so. To be honest with you, we knew that organization coveted Max, and it's not a total surprise or shock for it. We've recruited. We didn't expect Max, to be honest with you, when the year started up, to come back for his senior year. So we recruited accordingly with the thought process that Max would sign his professional contract. Would we love to have him back? Absolutely. But if he's getting a signing bonus in that second or third round money slot, then we will encourage him to start his career. And I think that will be the best thing for him.
All right. So these guys that were taken late, like Cody Morris, L.T. Tolbert, Chris Cullen, Adam Hill from your recruiting class, you feel really confident that they'll be coming to school?
Yeah, I've heard from all of those guys, and Braden Webb, too, is one of our big recruits that was drafted late. I don't know if you just mentioned him or not, but he was in the 38th round, but he was one of the top picks. He was one of the top draft picks, not top draft picks, top recruits in the 2014 recruiting class. He sat out last year because he had Tommy John, but he'll come in here healthy this fall as one of the top recruits in the country, and we feel good about him. Arriving on campus in August, as well as the other guys that you just mentioned. Adam Hill turned down a fair amount of money yesterday inside of the top 5 rounds to come to school, and we feel great about his commitment, as do we feel the same way about L.T. Tolbert, who turned down well north of 6 figures as well in the first 10 rounds yesterday to come to school. So we dodged. We did okay. We could have. It was a talented class, and we certainly could have lost a lot more. But we're excited about the kids that are committed to coming to South Carolina, and they'll certainly be here it won't be long. Some of them will be here in a couple of weeks to start summer school.
Will you be leaning heavily on this incoming group? I've got 16. Now, I guess Webb will count with with this incoming group, right? He'll count as a 2015 recruit?
That is correct. That is correct.
So I've got 17 right now. Of course, not all of them are coming. You mentioned that Niedert's going to sign, and I guess he's the only, and Logan Allen. So you're going to lose
Logan
2.
Allen.
You're going to lose 2. That'll give you 15. Do you have some other possibilities to add to this class, or you're pretty much set?
We do have some more possibilities. A couple of guys that we may add here late that have expressed a strong interest in coming here, junior college kids that we haven't been able, under NCAA rules, to announce yet. But we will add, and some of those guys that you just mentioned out of 15, some are scholarship guys, some are non-scholarship guys. But it's exciting for us that we have a talented group coming in. The core of the class has all been drafted, and we expect them to contribute the moment they get on campus. And Don Thompson-Williams, who we signed as well as a recruit, he was a 17th round draft pick a year ago as a freshman. He's a junior college kid that has signed with us, and we're excited about his career as well.
Well, we can happily say that the draft is now over. The last pick of the draft was Jacob McDavid from Oral Roberts, 1,215th pick, going to the Angels. But who knows? Maybe he will emerge as a player. Can we hold you over for just a couple of minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you. Talking with Chad Holbrook, USC baseball coach. We'll come back now that we've talked about the draft and all that. We'll touch on a couple of other areas of interest about his baseball program moving forward here into the summer months. And before you know it, the fall camp will be here, and they'll be getting after it, and they're going to be getting after it hard. Do have a feeling. We'll be back more with Coach Holbrook in a moment. right, we're back on Sports Talk. USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook is our guest here for a few more minutes. Are you tweeting and driving? Huh?
No, I'm actually I'm on the side of a baseball field in my car trying to pick up my son from his baseball practice.
All right.
I'm out of harm's way.
Good. I was going to chastise you. We just saw a tweet pop up from you there, and we're like, it's pretty good. All right, let's talk about the team here in the off season. What's left of it, and looks like a good portion of it's going to be there intact. But have you been told of anybody? You had a couple of guys leave. That's already been documented. Have you had any other departures, or everybody else still good to go?
Right now, we're still intact. There might be one or two more decide to leave the program, and if they do, it'll be because of their desire to play or play every day, or that sort of thing. We may not have any more leave, but there could be one or two more. So for the most part, our team is intact. Our recruiting class is intact, and we're excited about here in a couple months getting started.
You said in your postseason press conference that you had to do a lot of self-examination and look at things very closely from every aspect of your program. Now, a few weeks removed from that, as we get ready to watch 8 teams go to Omaha, what things have you determined are the key factors that will have you, if you address them correctly, will have you playing ball this time next year?
Well, I'm not done. I'm going to use the whole summer to analyze a lot of things. But, yeah, there's going to be some changes made that I make. I can't – I got to coach better. I got to do some things better. I got to motivate them better. We got to play better. And, our kids worked awfully hard. They prepared hard. We practiced hard, but for whatever reason, as a group, I didn't get this group to perform up to their capabilities. And that's going to live with me until we can have a great year, until we get back on the field and have a great year. I'm going to have to look at a lot of different things. And some of those things I'm going to keep to myself, but, I feel very, very excited and kind of re-energized about, now that the draft's over, about the type of team that we're going to be able to put on the field next year. And there's going to be a lot of new faces, a lot of young kids, but a lot of talent. And obviously when you have a year like we just had, you're chomping at the bit to get back on the field. And I certainly know and understand that this type of year that we just had is not acceptable at South Carolina. And our players know that. Our recruits coming in know that. And I think as a group, they're all ready to get on the field and kind of redeem themselves. I certainly am chomping at the bit to get back on the field to put a product on the field that our fans will be proud of.
Not to take anything away from this past year's team as a team or individually, but on paper, knowing what you've got coming back and what you've got coming in, on paper, will this be a more talented team in 2016?
Well, it could be more talented from a baseball standpoint. It'll be less experienced, just because of a lot of the new faces. But it'll be a talented group. I expect us to play a lot better than we did this past year. I expect us to be in the NCAA tournament, and I expect us to be able to compete for championships. And I expect to be able to compete to host regionals and put ourselves in position to go to Omaha. That's what you expect every year, and I think the talent level that we'll put out there next year will give us the opportunity to do so. Now, we got to go play well. We got to have intangibles. We got to have toughness. We got to have an incredible amount of work ethic and focus and determination and all those things that go with being a great team. But from a pure team talent standpoint, we'll have what it takes to be one of the better teams, I believe, in college baseball next year.
Update on Will Crow and how his rehab is going, and anybody else returning who's having some medical work.
Yeah, well, Will's doing well. I mean, he's ahead of schedule in his rehab. He was at the office today. He's worked extremely hard in his rehabilitation, and I expect him to heal quick. And when you deal with a surgery like that, you're looking at about a calendar year to get back to being 100% healthy. Now, if Will's blessed with some good fortune and he heals quickly and his rehab goes according to plan, maybe he can maybe he can be ready to go in 11 months or so, or 10 months. And if that's the case, then, Will Crow will pitch for us next year. If it's not the case and he needs a little bit more time, we'll use the year to redshirt him. But we won't make that call probably till next February.
Coach, we appreciate it very much, as always, for your time, and enjoy what little bit of a summer break you might have, and we look forward to talking to you again when the fall camp rolls around. That is Chad Holbrook, USC baseball coach, with us here on Sports Talk. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away. And our thanks to Chad Holbrook for being with us tonight. Bradley LaCroix from Clemson coming up in the next hour. Recruiting now. Offensive lineman John Simpson, Fort Dorchester, back home after 3 days at Clemson at the football camp. Latest in a series of visits he's taken to Clemson. Further cemented the Tigers atop his list at this point. He enjoyed being coached up by Coach Caldwell, he said. Learned a lot of stuff in terms of the way that he taught him to do some things. They did talk recruiting. He said it was mostly about staying in state. He said they weren't trying to pressure him. He'll go to USC Friday for the Spurrier camp, but he will not attend the showcase camp on Saturday. He also plans to get to LSU, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. Plans to return to Clemson in July for the all-in barbecue. He said Clemson still leads. He now has Alabama second on his list, bumping USC down a notch at this point. Of course, that could change after Friday. Been planning to announce at the Army All-American game, but said he might go public with a decision before the summer is out. And he said as far as Clemson is concerned, a good learning experience. Nothing has really changed. I've already seen everything, he said. Linebacker Jeremiah Moon, 6'4", 206, Hoover, Alabama, will be at USC for the showcase camp. His second visit to USC this year. He was in January for a junior day. Keeps in touch with recruiter Kirk Bodkin pretty regularly. He says the Gamecocks are high up on his list, and he has offers as well from Mississippi State, Minnesota, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Louisville, Georgia Southern, plus interest in Alabama and Auburn. He's going to a camp at Florida after USC, and after that, he'll kind of evaluate where things stand. He's been to Alabama for a camp, and he also wants to get to Mississippi State. He says the teams most on his mind, USC, Mississippi State, and Minnesota. Clemson offered 2017 defensive back Balin Spector of Calhoun, Georgia, Tuesday. 2018 quarterback Trevor Lawrence of Cartersville, Georgia, offered by Clemson yesterday. Offensive lineman Will Fries, Cranford, New Jersey, a USC and Clemson target, committed to Penn State. USC offensive line target Ja'Cory Savage of Bay Minette, Alabama, offered by LSU at the camp Tuesday and committed. And he said he's done, not coming in for USC's camp this weekend as he had planned. Today, Clemson offered 2017 tight end Will Register from Chapin. Offensive lineman Jordan Johnson of Jacksonville, offered by Virginia Tech Tuesday. He's a USC target. And Clemson offered 2018 defensive end Xavier Thomas of Wilson and 2018 linebacker Jake Venables of Daniel at the camp. Of course, Jake Venables, the son of the defensive coordinator. And we'll get more on Clemson's camp day from David Hood a little bit later on. And don't forget, recruiting always available on our website, sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, use hashtag STRecruiting. Top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia here on a Wednesday night when we finally put the baseball draft to bed for another year and turn our attention back to the action on the field. And that takes us to our Braves report tonight with Mike Morgan, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bauer Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more, by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals, and by Mattress by Appointment. Real simple. You call and you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. 803-530-8549 is the number. So the Braves showed last night that they have some heart, coming back from 5 runs down to win 6-5.
Well, they did. Tremendous comeback on offense, and maybe lost in all the offensive fireworks late in the game is the fact that the bullpen went 3 1/3 scoreless. That is a major accomplishment for this year's bullpen. You feel good about things if you can get a scoreless inning out of them these days. 3 1/3, that maintained that lead for San Diego to what it was, and the Braves just continued to chip away and get timely hitting and finally pull off the comeback win. Probably one of the bigger wins of the year. I don't know what it's going to mean in the overall big picture, but I can just tell you from this team standpoint, for the first 2+ months of the year, I would definitely rank this as one of the top 3 wins of the season.
You know, Shields, we talked about it last night. He was undefeated coming into the game, and he was still in there when the Braves started to put their rally together. What kind of changed with him because he was in such control, and then it started to get away?
Yeah, I think he was almost shocked. I think James Shields probably thought, well, maybe if I'm facing last year's Braves team, they're just going to go run away and pitcher with very good stuff, a smart pitcher who's not going to do that. He's really going to make you earn it in a lengthier way, and that's what they did. They didn't hit a bunch of home runs in the comeback. It was just one hit after another. I'll tell you another big part of the game last night. For years and years, a lot of people have clamored for replay in baseball. The Braves won 2 really big challenges by Freddie Gonzalez, including one at home plate, which gave the Braves a run on a play that was initially called an out. So you put a run on the board and you take an out off the board. That really helped Atlanta's comeback as well. So it was a combination of things that added up to a win, but that was a big one as well. Replay in baseball was definitely good at the Braves last night.
Mike, we thank you as always. Appreciate the report. Braves and Padres about to go at it again tonight in Atlanta. Braves trying to get another win in this series and try and build a little bit of a winning streak after struggling there and falling a few games under 500. It's going to be Perez going to the mound tonight for the Braves against Ross for the Padres, and we'll be back. All right, back on Sports Talk. We continue to put the wraps on the Major League Baseball draft in our states, and we had heard from Chad Holbrook a little while ago. Got his take on what happened from a South Carolina standpoint. Joining us now, Clemson assistant coach Bradley LeCroy, who's been out and about trying to take care of business in many different ways with the Clemson baseball program, but foremost on his mind, the draft and getting that behind the Tigers to see what's going to be left moving ahead for the coming season. Coach, thanks for being with us once again. And what'd you think from a draft standpoint for your program? How severely hit do you think you were this time?
I think from the recruit standpoint, we did really, really well. Obviously, you had two recruits go really good at the top end of the draft, and Cornelius Randolph, who went 10th overall, then Jalen Miller, who went in the 3rd round to the Giants. And those young men deserve it. They're excited about it. And we'll see how it plays out as far as their contracts and negotiation with those organizations. But we had 6 other guys who had opportunities to sign a professional contract. They stuck to their commitment to Clemson and the baseball program, and we're excited about what they're going to bring. It's going to be a great recruiting class for us in the fall, and look forward to developing them.
All right, 2 guys in your class that went late: Higginbotham, left-hander, and Cower, right-hander. One 27th round, the other the 40th. What are you hearing from those 2?
I think they're definitely locked in on school. Both of them had big numbers. Both of them are very, very good students. And it was huge for us going forward next year with losing Crownover and Irwin to keep all the pitchers in our recruiting class, and we're fortunate enough to do that. But those 2 especially, 2 special arms that were highly touted as far as the prospects and that kind of stuff. But proud of them and their families for sticking to their commitment to college. And we look forward to getting them on campus.
Cower is a big kid, about 6'4" or so, and typically of a big right-hander like that, is he one of these guys that can run it up there pretty good?
Yeah, he can. I mean, there was some talk early in the spring that he might go in the back end of the 1st round, and maybe the early part of the 2nd round. He'll be up to 94, 95 with a really good changeup, slider. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to go in the 1st round, and if he didn't, then he was going to come to school. And then Higginbotham, obviously he's not 6'5", but he's 6'1" lefty. He's up to 94, 95 with a big time breaking ball. So we're excited about those 2 guys, and the other guys as well. With what they did of sticking to their number and choosing to come to college rather than start their professional career.
What's the situation with Cal Raleigh? I know he put out through USA Today that he had asked for his release. Where does that stand?
It's in the process right now. He has been given his release. I think there's still a chance he's going to come to Clemson. Obviously, it's a unique situation with his relationship. His father played for Coach Leggett at Western Carolina, back in the 80s. And then obviously I coached with his father for 5 years, 2 at Western Carolina and 3 at Tennessee. So it's a special circumstance. I've been communicating with him every day. I think they're just going to wait and see what happens and who gets the head coaching vacancy. I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk that he's not coming to Clemson, but with that situation, we wanted to allow him to be able to have his options.
So basically, you have to re-recruit him all over again.
Yeah, a little bit. But I've known the kid since he's 8 or 9 years old. So hopefully, if I'm a good recruiter, I can get it done.
Well, we know you're a good recruiter, so we expect you to get it done. What about you mentioned Irwin and Crownover? Certainly, they're going to sign, and Duggar. Would you expect Brody Kerner? Have you talked to him? What do you expect expectations there? And I know Clayton Schmidt. What a story for him going through what he's going through. He gets drafted today. Eli White. Those guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe Brody's going to sign with the Yankees. Brody's a very intelligent kid. Graduated college in 3 years. So he already has his degree in his back pocket. If he was to come back next year, he was going to be in grad school. And I think he's going to take this opportunity. From my conversation with him this morning, this afternoon after he got drafted. And then Clay Schmidt, obviously, he's going through a lot more than baseball. you know, with his surgery and his treatment, that kind of stuff. And, I expect him to be back on campus in the fall, after his rehab and his treatment, and for him to get better and hopefully, pitch for us again next spring. And then Eli White, is a circumstance where he's a draft eligible sophomore. Have some good conversations with him. Eli's up in the Cape right now. They started last night. And he has his eyes set on coming back to school and improving his draft stock. And if he can do what he did from year 1 to year 2, he's gonna be a pretty good pick next year.
Absolutely. Are you on the road recruiting? Do you have, with I guess losing these guys that are going to sign, you got some space left in your class, or can you see yourself bringing in another couple of or 3 guys into this class?
Yeah, I think so. It just depends on how it works out. I mean, obviously you forecast a lot of times for your juniors on your team to leave, and then if you have a good feel for your high school guys, which we did on those top 2. We thought there was an outside chance that Miller might slip to get to us because he had a high number, but he's going to get his number. So you forecast that a little bit, you prepare. But I think with what happened, we might end up, trying to go out and find a late high school guy or definitely a JUCO guy and bring him in, for the fall.
How tough is it, though, without a head coach to point to right now? We know how tough it is in football and basketball. What about in baseball? I would imagine, pretty much the same sort of hard sell when you're trying to recruit guys without a head coach.
Yeah, it's not easy, that's for sure. But I've talked to several junior college prospects, and just trying to keep them on the line and hopefully, we'll know something at the program sometime next week or the week after that about who's the next head coach, and just trying to keep them on the line so that if we do need to make a move, if I'm part of the staff, if I'm the head coach, we can make that move. If not, then obviously, they'll look other ways.
When do you have your interview with Dan Radakovich?
I believe sometime coming up soon, either this weekend or beginning of next week.
You optimistic?
Yeah, I'm very optimistic. I'm ready for this and looking forward to it, and very excited. That's for sure.
Well, from the names you heard so far being bandied about, you kind of feel like you're the best candidate?
Well, I don't, in my eyes, yeah, for sure. But there's some great people out there, great college baseball coaches. It's a great program. It's going to draw interest from all over the country from some of the best. So, you just gotta sell your vision and sell what you're going to do for the program. And, our goal at Clemson is to win a national championship, and hopefully, I can get my chance and lead them to that.
You mentioned the time frame here. So you feel like maybe the head coach will be in place by sometime next week or the week after from the feeling you're getting?
Yeah, I think so, because it's very important, whoever it is. In the administration, we've talked about this as I'm in this interim stage. I've told them that it's very important. We got to get somebody in here to still hold on to these recruits and to start communicating with the guys on our team about who's going to lead the program. And they understand that, and I think they're doing a great job of their process and talking to people and things like that. So yeah, I think that's the goal.
Are you committed to staying if you're not named the head coach and given that opportunity?
I'd like to talk to the person who gets the head coaching job about that opportunity for sure. Because like I told you the other night, it's more than a job to me. Mm-hmm. It's my school and it's where I played. And, we'll have to see how it fits. The person who gets hired might have his whole staff already picked out or might bring his whole staff from his previous school. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. But hopefully I get a chance to talk to that person if I'm not the head coach.
Hey, good luck to you moving forward with everything. And who knows, maybe next week we'll be talking to you about being the new head coach of the Tigers.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Coach. All right, Bradley LaCroix. Good stuff from him as always, and very honest, straightforward. The last 2 interviews we've done with him, I've really been impressed by the way he's handled the questions with great answers and the way he's handling the situation right now as being the guy in charge of the program. Back in a moment. Well, I forgot to tell Bradley, hopefully he's listening to us wherever he's out and about, that he's trending up on our Sports Talk poll question of the week. Who will be Clemson's new baseball coach? He has 16% of the votes behind the College of Charleston's Monty Lee. In the other category, we have 13%. Let's see, who do we have in the other category? I don't know how to open up the other category. West Virginia coach Randy Mazey has 11% of the vote. Former Georgia coach David Perno has 10%. Maryland coach John Scheck has 5.8%. Jim Schlossnagel, TCU, 5.11%. Virginia coach Brian O'Connor, 2.9%. And Louisville coach Dan McDonnell, 2.9%.
Yeah, I mean, might want to move some of those guys up higher on the list. And I know there's been reports that Mazey interviewed for the job. And that's one that I scratch my head at that one. Google his name in East Carolina. And if you're Clemson, that's pretty big baggage. You're getting rid of Jack Leggett, a guy that was first class across the board, on and off the field. Now you can say, okay, it was time to make that change, but you're bringing in Randy Mazey, who hasn't made the postseason in 3 years at West Virginia, who was unceremoniously released at East Carolina. By unceremoniously, he was suspended and then quit or resigned, or they parted ways, and nobody there is still talking. I don't know how you do that. Me personally. I mean,
well, my point is this, and Phil and I mentioned it the other night, came back, is put Jack Leggett's resume on the table and you ask yourself, well, who's the best candidate? Nobody. I mean, because any resume is going to come very short of his.
Well, I mean, they can still make a splash. I mean, there's a lot of ways of making a splash.
Would Monty Lee
would be in these parts, he would be. I don't think it'd make much of a ripple nationally. Nationally, if they were to hire Schlossnagel from TCU,
that would be a splash.
Or one of those guys, a guy from Virginia.
But I don't see that happening.
O'Sullivan and Corbin or pipe dreams. Had they let this thing play out another 3 years, and Jack retired on his own speed and time, then you would have had a chance, I would think, to get Corbin or O'Sullivan to come keep it
help
going.
You bring in the next guy with his and that's the one thing that people are, I think, not remembering is just how this thing happened with Leggett and the respect that he has nationally and the coaching tree that he has. And remember, Dan Radakovich told him before this season, he went public with his statements of he's got to do this, this, and this. And Aaron Fitt from D1 Baseball was saying that really limited him and that wasn't a fair thing to do. So if you're another coach coming in, that happened. Are you going, hey, is this going to happen to me after 2-3 years? Is the AD going to start knocking on my door saying you have to have a leadership committee? You have to go visit other programs.
The only thing I would say,
tell me how to coach?
The only thing I would say about that is that whoever he hires is going to be his guy. And he's going to give him plenty of room to do his thing. Jack was not his guy. And I get the feeling the two of them just didn't mesh as boss and employee. Back in a moment. All right, busy night here on Sports Talk as we try to cover everything and beyond for you here on the program. We head back up to Clemson and welcome in from TigerNet our good friend David Hood, who wrapped up the first go-round of the Dabo Swinney high school football camp today. They'll have another camp later on this week at the end of the week and going into the weekend. But, David, thanks for joining us once again. Great work all week on your website and with us as well. We really appreciate it. And a number of offers going from the Tigers this afternoon after the final session of this camp.
Yeah, more offers going out, especially with offensive linemen and, even a 2016 kid out of Georgia. If you follow recruiting, you're seeing that some of these offensive line prospects that, Clemson has had are going other places. Will has going to Penn State. Who knows what's going to happen with Parker Boudreaux. But, I think Clemson is trying to make sure that they've got all their bases covered with offensive linemen. And, some more offers have gone out. Another corner offer went out. And a busy day up on Clemson's campus. And, of course, the big news was the fact that, there was a kid that's just 2 years removed from Nigeria who walked up out there and created quite a buzz. Yeah,
tell us more about him. I saw your write-up about him. He was a basketball kid. He put on 50 pounds. He went out for football. He looked good. And the picture you had of him, he looks like he could grow into an animal.
Yeah, 6'8", he might, to me, just kind of standing there beside him, he might be a shade under 6'8", but, 6'8", 245, and, it's kind of like, well, who is this guy? And Brent Venables ran up to him, and then they ran off together out on the field, and he introduced him to Marion Hobby. But in talking to the kid's coach, he said it was the basketball coach up there at Asheville Christian who said, maybe I have a guy that wants to play football. And he said he came out to football practice, and after the first practice, he said, do you like it? Do you want to come back? And the kid just nodded yes. But, very, very raw. Today was even spent just trying to teach him how to get down into a 3-point stance, what a 2-point stance was. But, 6'8", 245 is just something that you can't teach, and he had athletic ability that was very evident.
Well, his mom's not a mayor in Nigeria somewhere. We're not going to deal with that again, are we?
Yeah, that's something somebody posted on our board. The only thing that worries me is she a politician.
Yeah, we don't need anything more like that. Chandler Reeves is the offensive lineman from Atlanta, who the 2016 offensive lineman who got the offer today. What did you see of him in camp?
Yeah, I noticed him, and he's one of those guys that I was really impressed with his technique. He's a little on the light side still right now. Almost reminds me a little bit of Ryan Norton when Ryan Norton was in high school. He's going to have to put on 25 or 30 pounds when he gets wherever he's going. But, a technician, I liked what I saw out of him.
Is he a guy that Clemson thinks they can get in the boat here before too long, or is it going to be a battle for him?
Well, you know what? It's really funny because you think about this, you think, well, now Clemson's offered. Now you wonder if some of the other big schools are going to come in and also offer, and if it'll turn into some protracted thing. But, I think Clemson's an offer that he really wanted, and I think if he's going to commit, we'll find out about that pretty soon.
All right, talking with David Hood from TigerNet about the Clemson football camp that wrapped up today, at least round one. I talked to John Simpson this afternoon after he got back to Charleston. Seems like everything went well for him on the field and his discussions off the field. I get the feeling it's just a matter of time before he makes the call for Clemson.
Yeah, and I talked to him too, and I asked him, has anything changed, and he said no. And I think he really wants to take some of these visits. He feels like he hasn't been everywhere he wants to go, and I know he was excited today because his teammate, guy he calls his little brother, to carry and join the quarterback/athlete, he got his Clemson offer, today as well. But I think John, I asked him, I said, are you going to come back up for the cookout? And he said, yes, the all-in cookout is going to happen in July. He said, but I'm going to bring my whole family with me. We may see something then. And, if the whole family kind of approves, that might be when we hear something.
Yeah, it appears to me, at least right now, South Carolina could be slipping with him. He told me Alabama was now second on his list, and he's only going to spend a day at USC on Friday. He just spent 3 days at Clemson. He's talking about going back for the cookout, as you mentioned. You said taking the family as well. He also said he could have a decision he could announce something by the end of the summer. It seems like he's kind of moving that timeline forward.
It is, and when I talked to him today, he said that one of the reasons that he really wanted to spend 3 days was so he could spend time with line coach Robbie Caldwell and get a feel for his coaching style. And he said, I think I got that. I like the way he coached me this week. I like the other guys, and it helps too that Clemson has Darrell Berry, a former tight end who's now on staff. That's a Fort Dorchester graduate, and I asked him, I said, what do you and Darrell Berry talk about? And he said, well, Darrell just mainly talks smack to me and tells me what a great player he was at Fort Dorchester. So, those kinds of relationships are huge when you talk about recruit.
All right. Anything else really stand out to you as far as offers that went out today or last night? I know they offered the 2018 defensive end from Wilson, who's going to probably grow into a terrific prospect by the time he's a senior.
Yeah, other than him and some of the offers that went out today, I just, can go ahead and throw out there, though, that from what I understand, we know Clemson lost Bradley Pinion to the NFL draft this year, and they're going to be looking for a punter sooner rather than later. And from what I understand, they're going to have as many as 50 kicking prospects in this weekend, maybe even on Saturday.
Wow.
And a lot of those guys are going to kick personally for Dabo Swinney. So we may have some news on the kicking front this weekend. Now,
what is the camp coming up this weekend? Is it the same type camp as the one that we just wrapped up?
It is. It's going to be 3 days, 2 days, 3 sessions a day on Friday and Saturday, and then just the one on Sunday. It's the same format, but there's just going to be more kids. I think they told me this morning that right now I think there's 1,174 that are supposed to come, and then there'll be walk-ups.
Wow, that is a huge number. Will there be as many major prospects in for this camp as there were for the one that just finished?
Yeah, from everything I'm hearing, there's going to be a lot of big-name kids that are going to be in here, especially, on that Saturday. I think Saturday's kind of when we're looking at a lot of big names coming in.
All right. Any other major news coming out of Clemson from a football standpoint?
Nothing from football, nothing from baseball. That's still all just kind of eerily quiet right now.
Well, we just had Bradley LeCroy on before you, and the one thing we got from him is that the timetable is within the next maybe next week or the week after. He said he expects a coach to be named, and he expects to interview maybe over the weekend. So a couple of things to keep your eye on there. And he believes he's the man for the job. Would you, as somebody who covers the program very closely, would you agree that Bradley LeCroy would be a good head coach at Clemson following Jack Leggett? Would that work?
I think Bradley LeCroy is going to be a great head coach. But for somebody that's just, come back in and doesn't have that big-time head coaching experience, I don't know if you give him a job like Clemson right off the bat. Clemson took a gamble with a guy by the name of Dabo Swinney, and that worked out. Would it, would lightning strike twice? I don't know, and I don't know that Dan Radakovich would do that. I don't know that you get rid of a legend like Jack Leggett and then bring in a guy that doesn't have that head coaching experience. I think Bradley is going to be a very good head coach one day, though. Very impressed with him. He's a great recruiter.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. All right, David. Thank you, sir, and we'll catch up with you over the weekend.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. David Hood from TigerNet. You can read all his stuff there. It's free. So you Clemson fans who certainly if you're a Clemson fan, you know about TigerNet. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. For those of you who aren't Clemson fans, but you do want to check in on what they're doing and you don't want to spend the money for a pay site, TigerNet is free. And it's as good as any of them, maybe the best of them all. It's certainly the longest running of them all in terms of the fan forums and things of that nature. And David and his staff over there, they do a terrific job, and we appreciate him being with us tonight. All right, we'll hit a break, and I think we'll have time for some calls, maybe check some Twitter, check some email as well when we come back. Okay, if you want to jump on the program here in our final 10 minutes or so, we've got time to squeeze in a call or two or three. 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter. Hopefully you're following us on Twitter. The address is @SportsTalkSC. The website is sportstalksc.com. Always a lot of great stuff there, recruiting, news, and highlights from the show. And, of course, our video stream at the bottom of the page, the audio stream at the top of the page. And on Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. And let's see, in the email box, we have this from Charles. I've listened for years and love the recruiting column. I have a question. Will this really be Steve Spurrier's last year at Carolina? I've read several stories that hint at that possibility. Wouldn't that kill recruiting, and who would replace him if it's true? He's got a banner class coming in next year, and I'd hate to see him step down. Charlie down in Mount Pleasant. I don't think it's going to be his last year. I think South Carolina has got a little bit of a chance here to surprise some people and kind of fly under the radar here for a little while, maybe upset some people, then start regaining some notoriety. He's got a good young quarterback coming in Nunez. He's got a good young quarterback coming in the 2016 class in McElwain. He likes Connor Mitch. I think as long as he's got good quarterbacks to work with, it keeps him happy. I think having John Hoke handling the defense is giving him some inspiration as well. Health is good. Doesn't mind taking his shirt off from time to time to let you check out the bod.
You can stop that.
Still proud of that. So no, I don't see any stepping down in the immediate future. Now, is he going to coach till he's 75? Well, we didn't think he was going to coach till he's 70. So
if he feels
who
good,
knows?
he may do that. I will say this: I think he also wants to be here while to the additions to the physical plan are done. I mean, he wants to see, what the stadium looks like, because there's our old buddy over there I just happened to see. But anyway, he wants to see how that stadium is going to look, how the practice facility down near the old farmers market, how that's going to work out. So I think he's going to stay here for a while.
I think, he wants to see how many games they're going to win. That's what it all comes down to with Steve Spurrier. And if they start losing like they did last year, he's not going to stick around for 2 or 3 straight 7-win seasons. He's not going to do that. He will get out. I think he came as close as most of us expect or suspect that he did to quitting last year. We all heard his evasive answers. We all heard his 2 to 3 more years right after the Clemson game, the Monday following. I think that's a pretty good indicator that he's on the fence. Now, if they go out and they win 9-10 games, he has some young guys that he likes. I could see him coaching another year, 2 years, 3 years, but he's 70 years old. I mean, and he looks great for 70, but the bottom line is he's 70, and at any time he can say, I want to go to Crescent Beach and stay there, and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to get on the airplane and go and blow a game in the fourth quarter or lose by 15 or not be able to get a first down. And the thing that could really hurt him this year, guys, last year the defense stunk, but the offense, his little toy, it was humming right along most of the year. The Auburn game, they lost that Auburn game. He was as happy as I've ever seen him after a loss because they couldn't be stopped offensively. This year, that offense could sputter a little bit. He's going to have a new quarterback, a bunch of wide receivers not named Pharaoh Cooper that haven't caught a pass, pretty good running backs. Offensive line, always a question, but if that offense sputters, that always makes him even more frustrated.
Well, that's why I think that and you're right. It's possible the offense is going to sputter a little bit as things get worked in, but I like the look of the offensive line. I think Donnell Stanley has a chance to be a very good offensive guard for them. The fact that Shell's coming back, you get Machulis back healthy. Some of the other guys who are returning, if you can keep them healthy, some of the incoming players as well, especially some of the junior college players that they're adding to this team, makes them an older group across the board. I think their defense is going to be just fine. I think their defense is going to be probably 100% improved over last year. I don't think you're going to see a USC defense get slapped around like it did last year.
Because it was standing around thinking. I keep telling you.
For whatever
that's
reason, I just think they're going to be better. I don't think you're going to see them giving up 400-plus yards per game. I would expect that they may cut that, if not in half, at least into something in the low threes and be much more respectable, and maybe cut down their points allowed production into the high teens to give their offense a chance. Now, everything with South Carolina, though, is a big question mark until we see how the quarterbacks play, whoever it happens to be.
But they play better when they have question marks. I guarantee.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. I think the fact that the expectations will be low, the pressure should also be low from that standpoint. Back in a moment. Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. Final minutes here on a Wednesday night, and we're just talking about Rick Stockstill, former Clemson assistant coach, and now the head coach at Middle Tennessee State. He's been there a good while. He's made himself a home there in Murfreesboro. He was on ESPN. I'm sure they were talking about his request to his administration that they keep, at least for now, a $400,000 bonus for him and give it to him in some form or fashion later and use that money to help defray the cost of attendance for the full scholarships at Middle Tennessee State for, I guess, his football team. I'm not sure if he's talking about everybody, at least for his football players.
I would think it'd be his football team. This thing is, if you use that, get my players in here, I can get in, and I'm still winning. I'm still employed.
Mm-hmm. He's done a good job at Middle Tennessee. I'm a little surprised he hasn't parlayed that into a bigger opportunity because he has a tremendous reputation as a recruiter and as a quarterback coach and as a head coach, but he has kind of found his niche.
Yeah, he had a rough run in East Carolina, but landed on his feet there in Murfreesboro.
At Middle Tennessee.
And he's not
because maybe he was fired at East Carolina as a head coach, and then he came back to South Carolina, and then he went back to Clemson, and then he went to Murfreesboro, as I recall, in the Rick Stockstill coaching tree. He did get the head coaching job at East Carolina. I'm not dreaming that up.
You're asking me, or
no? You're looking at me like
remember. I don't
like
remember.
I can't
four
remember.
heads going out of my neck.
I don't remember that aspect
but
of his career.
I will say this: he's really not that far from Nashville.
25 miles.
Yeah, that's not far.
Yeah.
And he's got a good little area he can recruit from out of state. So
listen, Middle Tennessee State's a big school.
It is. It's
20-some thousand students, I think. Did we mention
he
this?
took over I guess he was offensive coordinator under John Thompson at East Carolina.
That's why I was looking at you.
He did work at East Carolina. He just wasn't the head coach.
I didn't remember one way or the other. Did we mention Jacob Park and the latest update that his coach said?
Trying to keep him.
Did we mention that? Okay.
Mark Rick.
I'm going to make sure I mention
You're not leaving Georgia.
Well, at least not yet. But, the kid's not taking any calls from him, so it certainly sounds like he's trying to get away. The Braves, what are they doing?
2-0, but the Padres have the bases loaded in the top of the third inning.
And it is Williams Perez, the man with 2 last names, on the mound for the Braves tonight in Atlanta. Off night NBA, Game 4 tomorrow night in Cleveland.
Put your boxing gloves on.
Think it's going to get nasty? Yeah.
Because they put David Lee in, and David Lee was the one, nobody else will bang.
He's an enforcer.
I will bang.
What about LeBron? He is scoring at will.
I mean,
he's scoring at will.
Losing his best 2 sidekicks. That's a roster outside of LeBron James. If you looked at it, you go, what?
Well,
they have nothing.
It just tells you how great a player he is. He can elevate practically he could elevate us to the NBA Finals.
Well, let's not get crazy.
That'll do it. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow night.